Welcome everybody to the College Football Playoff Preview Special on the Girly True Sports Network. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. Today, we're going to look at the Oregon Ducks against the Ohio State Buckeyes in a rematch of a game played in Oregon, won by Oregon 32-31 earlier this season. And if you want to bet this game, go to BetMGM, the top sportsbook for betting on college football. Just click on the link in the description down below if you're watching on YouTube. All right, guys, Ohio State versus Oregon in the Rose Bowl. This is perfect. I know both teams are in the Big Ten right now, but Oregon is a Pac-10 team, Pac-12, whatever the hell you call it back in the day. This would be the matchup in the Rose Bowl if this was 1986. We get Ohio State versus Oregon in a rematch of one of the best games played this entire season. Now, Ohio State finished the season on a sour note by losing to their rival Michigan, a team they never should have lost to because they played not to lose the game. All right. They followed that up by coming out angry and aggressive against Tennessee, and they ran Tennessee out of the building. The big question for this game and how you pick this game is Ohio State going to play to win the game? Can anyone beat this Ohio State team if it plays like what we saw against Tennessee? The coaches did exactly the opposite of what we witnessed against Michigan. The play calling was creative on both sides of the ball, and it put players in position to succeed, unlike that Michigan game. We have to assume that that will be the plan once again when facing Oregon for a second time this season. The good news is that Jim Knowles and the OSU defensive staff didn't give anything away the first time these two teams faced off. The defensive game plan was about as vanilla as it gets. Duck quarterback Dylan Gabriel had a clean pocket all night and picked the Ohio State secondary apart to the tune of 341 yards through the air, 32 on the ground, 3 total touchdowns. Sure, since this time, the defense has become much more aggressive for Ohio State, using multiple blitz packages and coverages to keep opposing offenses guessing. There will need to be much of that type of mentality if the Buckeyes are hoped to knock off the number one team in the land. Knowles was insistent on leaving his corners on an island in the first game. Denzel Burke got absolutely torched with no help over the top. Too many explosive plays led to momentum swings that carried the Ducks to victory. Ohio State simply cannot allow that to happen again and expect to win. Gabriel must feel the pressure. Oregon's wide receivers are very, very talented, and if given time, they will find space and make this defense pay. The Ducks running back Jordan James is also capable of taking over a game. He rushed for over 1,200 yards with 15 touchdowns. 115 of those came against the Buckeyes in those teams' first meeting. Only twice this season has a player rushed for over 100 yards on the Ohio State defense. That was the Oregon game and the Michigan game. The two blemishes on Ohio State's record. Stop the run, they win the game. Offensively, Ohio State needs to stay aggressive and creative. When Chip Kelly keeps defenses guessing, there isn't a defense in the country that can stop this team's playmakers. Kelly gave the Ducks all they could handle on October the 12th. But of course, OSU is now dealing with a much different offensive line thanks to injuries. On top of that, Oregon has its top edge rusher back in Jordan Burke, who has recorded 8.5 sacks in just 9 games this season. On the other side of the defensive line is Mateo Ugalei, who has another 10.5 sacks. Both could wreak havoc if the line doesn't give Will Howard time. However, if Howard has time to get the ball to his athletes in space, it will not only open up the run game, but will also open up opportunities for a few deep strikes, similar to that game against Tennessee. If the Ducks have to move defenders up, the defensive backs will not be able to match the speed and strength of Buckeyes receivers one-on-one. The one thing Ohio State players can't afford to do is listen to all the experts' praise of how good they are. This team plays much better with a chip on their shoulder. It played angry against Tennessee, and the Buckeyes will need the same passion to take down Oregon. Will we look at this game in the prediction? This really does feel like you have the two best teams in the country. It's too bad that this is a quarterfinal matchup and not the championship game, or at least a semifinal. But after playing the game of the year earlier this season, we're getting treated to an encore performance. So as fans, let's not complain. Let's enjoy it. It's not often a team gets a chance for redemption in a college football season. That's exactly what Ohio State has. Now, even though, like I said, the Ducks are now in the Big Ten, matching up in the Rose Bowl does give this a feel of years gone by when the conference champion of the Pac 12 and the Big Ten would battle in Pasadena. This is a football game where I feel these are the two best teams in the country. I feel Ohio State is the most talented team in the country. I think this comes down to coaching. I really like Coach Lanning over Coach Day. I mean, Ohio State has a great group of coaches. But the other thing about this here is Ohio State's offensive line has not been up to par. It's not what it was the first time they played Oregon. With guys missing, this offensive line has been shaky at times. Oregon can get you off the edge on either side. It can bring pressure up the middle. I think this, when looking at this, I'm going to take Oregon to win this game straight up. I'm getting money line that I really like. I think this is going to be a really close game. I think Oregon wins this game 31-30. But in the end, I'm going to take the team that was consistently good all year. They started off the season beating Boise State. A couple weeks later, beat Ohio State. Finished it by beating Penn State. They can put points on the board. The defense can get after the passer. I'm going to take the team that was more consistent all year. I'm going to take the team that I think has the better quarterback in Dylan Gabriel. I think that he is just simply a better quarterback than Will Howard. I don't completely trust Will Howard in this situation. I trust Dylan Gabriel. Give me the Ducks to win this game 31-30. I'm going to bet the Ducks on the money line so I get a little bit of juice there. And if I'm going to bet this game, which I am, I'm going to go to BetMGM. You can click on the links in the description down below to go straight to BetMGM. But make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell notification on YouTube. Make sure you follow us on thegruelingtruth.com. Go to Facebook, like and follow us there. And on X, you can follow us at Grueling Truth. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap the show up. I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.